So we will begin, and the time is 6:13, Annika, for the beginning of our AGM. So welcome everybody. I'd like to recognise and give an acknowledgement that our general meeting is being held on the lands of the Bunurong Boonwurrung people, and we wish to acknowledge them as the traditional owners of this land and pay our respects to them and their elders past, present and future. So we will move straight to the second agenda item, which is the confirmation of, the attendance. So Annika, you've managed to get that?
So far so good, I think, yep.
Are there any apologies or proxies that you
The only one I have is from Eileen and Grant from the Glassblowers. They sent through their apology.
Okay, and no proxies for this meeting? No, great. Okay, so item number 3 is to move and approve confirmation of the previous AGM minutes on the 18th of September 2019 and the June special meeting minutes. So I'd like to move those. Can I have a second? Yeah, Amanda for seconding those, and all those in favour, just raise your hands if you're in favour, and that's carried. So we're moving to the 4th item on the agenda, which is the President's report. And for this one, I've been a bit sneaky and pre-recorded the report from earlier today. So I'm going to share my screen with you and hopefully this will work. So here we go. Good evening, everyone. Well, it might seem that we've brought you here together to read tourism's last will and testament. It is with great relief that we can safely say we're not dead yet. But doesn't it feel like 2020 was a year designed to test us? First with devastating bushfires, and then with COVID lockdown 1 and 2. And yet we're all still here. Despite the incredible challenges, I'm happy to be able to reflect on some very positive developments in 2020 for the Hinterland Tourism Association. One of the key achievements was right at the start. We ensured the sustainability of our association by renewing our committee with some highly skilled team members coming on board. We took our governance online with a document sharing platform where we can easily access important reference material, and we developed a framework for decision making that defines our role and purpose as an organisation and examines the 3 pillars of our work. We as a committee defined these as visitor servicing as opposed to destination marketing, advocacy on tourism issues, and business to business networking. If we examine the year as pre and post-COVID, the weighting of these roles has been markedly different. Starting with our annual visitor servicing projects, we commenced these pre-COVID and we used contractors to deliver 3 significant visitor information tools. These were the Tourism Information Signboard renewal at 2 locations, the website renewal, and the delivery of the tear-off map, which used a 25,000 print run and was funded by Soul Advertising Spaces. Local contractors who helped us deliver these projects were MP Marketing, Dazzle Creative and Red Design. The Tear-Off Map was a revenue-earning project that contributed to the association's strong year-on-year financial growth. And that's left us in a really good financial position in 2020. Little did we know that we would need that buffer so soon. While we are still assessing the viability of the Tourism Map project, it is likely that signage renewal will not go ahead in 2021-22, in the rest of this year, the latter half of this year, but will actually be deferred to 21-22. Also under the banner of visitor services and activities, we include our content management on social media. On Facebook, we ensured a bi-weekly post of original member content, and reviewing our page performance on Facebook, we saw that there was a 15% growth across the year. While we weren't entirely happy with this performance, we did note that the quality of the content created by MP Marketing was exceptional. So we needed more eyeballs on this member content, and that's why we decided to double up and reshare the content on Instagram. The HTA Instagram page has grown exponentially since it was launched in March, and it's set to overtake our Facebook in terms of followers and engagement in the next few months. Since March, there has been 84 member posts shared, and Instagram has grown to 384 followers. In terms of advocacy, the committee has been quite active in representing tourism businesses in the hinterland. Early in the piece, we arranged a meeting with the incoming CEO, John Baker, to introduce our organisation. We attended other meetings, including the MP Shire's Tourism Signage Review, the Peninsula chapter of Airbnb Meetup, where we distributed tear-off mats to 60 accommodation providers. We attended the NPRTV Leaders Forum, and we also attended the combined Christmas party, where our HTA representative, yours truly, was given the honour of presenting the Tourism Legends Award at the end of 2019. We made submissions to the State Government's Regional Tourism Board review and the Shire's Tourism Services review. And preceding this, we surveyed you, our members, to ask what was needed. Via our member e-newsletter, we disseminated information regarding bushfire relief and preparedness, as well as COVID-19 and the crisis that unfolded and is still unfolding. And that is an ongoing task with plenty of information that needs to be sifted through and communicated. In our external communications, we submitted 3 articles to the press and gave an interview on the state of Mornington Peninsula businesses during the COVID crisis, and we submitted 2 grant applications for tourism generating projects. One of those was given preliminary approval but then was withdrawn, and another is still pending. I'm particularly proud of the committee and the work we have done in 2020 in regards to business-to-business activities. We hosted 2 Christmas parties pre-COVID, and one was exclusively for Hinterland members, and the other one was in collaboration with the NPRTB, offering our members a Shire-wide tourism networking opportunity. In the immediate aftermath, post-COVID, we communicated often with the members to understand their needs and their changing trading conditions and offers. During the June and July e-newsletter, we shared 20 member specials on our e-newsletter and also on our social media sites. Our monthly e-news continues to be a key member benefit post-COVID, and an average open rate of 50 to 60%, which is extremely high. So we know it's a great way to communicate with members, and we will continue to do that. I'd like to congratulate the HTA committee for the many volunteer hours and the hard work that they've put in this year, despite the direct threat on their own jobs and businesses. They never dropped the ball and continually rose to the challenge in the wake of the COVID-19 crisis. They acted swiftly to maintain online governance, and we conducted all our meetings via Zoom, maintaining a quorum throughout this period. The cohesive team culture resulted in a swift decision to reduce member fees to 0, for which we hosted a general member meeting, and the membership voted unanimously to approve this motion in June. I'm pleased to say that all but one of the committee has expressed an interest in returning in 2021. And we also thank Scott Elks for his time on the committee in 2020. Should there be a vacant position on the committee in 2021, we would encourage any interested members to sit in and join us. All you have to do is get in touch. So that wraps up the President's report for 2020. Let's hope the rest of 2020 is kind to us and that we see a steady return to normal in 2021. Thank you very much.
Okay, so thanks guys. So just need to move the President's report, and if I could have someone to second that. Thank you. Hannah's going to second that. And all in favour? Raise your hand. Thank you. Carried. Beautiful. Okay, so the next item on the AGM agenda is the Treasurer's Report. So I'm going to hand this over to Sean to speak. And
Do you have the documents there as well?
did you email those to me?
I think so, yeah. They're in
Do you
your
want the,
inbox.
so do you want to have a look at the PDF you sent through?
Maybe we'll start with the PowerPoint and then the PDF, because the PDF's got all the details. So.
Okay. I'm sorry about this, Sean. Did you send it to my, did you send the PowerPoint to my email?
Let me check, hang on.
Because I don't think I've got that there.
To the submission writer email address.
Yep, you've already sent it?
1229.
Okay, sorry.
Sorry? Otherwise, I'm happy to talk to it and we can email out the detail afterwards.
Yeah. I haven't got the PDF, so I can go, I'll go straight to the, well, we've got two more that I'm just going to omit. G'day, Leith, and we've got Nikki Kempler as well. Okay, apologies, guys, for the technical issues. AGM Zoom. Okay, this is the financials. We're going to have a look at the P&L, and Sean will speak to that because it's the best I can do.
So I'll give a short summary. Essentially, so for FY20, we ended the year on 76 members, which was net down 3 members. We had brought on 5 new ones, but unfortunately we had 8 non-renewals. Largely those non-renewals were due to businesses in the area closing down or changing owners, and hence there was no business to renew for the year. So it certainly wasn't as a result of dissatisfaction with the Tourism Association. Our net income for the year was $18.4 thousand, which was up about $2,000 year on year. The main 2 drivers for that was our price increase. So this time last year we voted on and passed and everybody paid a $20 increase to the base membership fee. So that drove a little bit over half of the revenue increase year on year. The other was the tourist map that Melly alluded to in her President's Report. We had gross income on that of $9,000, largely sponsorship driven. That was $700 higher year on year, and that was a really good job done by what's her name? Nellie, I've forgotten. From
MP
the
Marketing
creative agency.
Emmy, was it Emmy?
Yeah, Emmy Van Ningwingen. She did a great job and managed to sell all the spaces this year. So that was terrific. As a result, our cash, on a cash basis, our bank balance was looking extremely healthy as at the 30th of June. So when we take a look at the balance sheet in a second, it'll show that we had $16,000 in cash in the bank account as at the 30th of June, which is the strongest position we've ever been in as an association, and about $5,500 up on this time last year. The 2 main drivers for that was the revenue increase that I just spoke about. We also spent $1,800 or thereabouts less year on year. The main reason for that was, unfortunately, COVID related. We certainly didn't plan on doing it. We didn't budget on spending less year on year. But one of the big events that we had planned for May, unfortunately, couldn't take place. And that was going to be one of our flagship events for the year for members, their guests, and the broader community to come along to. So unfortunately, we couldn't have that, but it has resulted in our cash position being extremely strong. The summary of all of that, as far as our overall P&L result for the year, if you flick across to the P&L report, Nellie, was that our net income for the year was $7,000 in surplus, almost to the dollar, 7,001. So in combination of last year's profit plus this year's net surplus, we do have quite a healthy cash position and some retained earnings in the entity, which, as Nellie alluded to earlier, was one of the key contributors to our decision to not charge for the 2021 financial year membership, which is a great outcome for members and hopefully should have the added bonus of attracting some new members to us and seeing what we're all about, and hopefully they'll remain sticky in 2022 and beyond. So that's a bit of a summary. The details have sort of flashed up on your screen and we'll certainly email them out. Nellie and Kerry are the two members of the executive committee that have signed off on those results, and we'll be lodging those with Consumer Affairs Victoria, assuming they're passed at this session today.
Okay. Terrific.
Feel free to shoot any questions across either now, in the chat later, or to my email address or the info@MP Hinterland email address anytime.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Sean. So I would like to, or Sean would move the Treasurer's report for 2020. And do I have a second? Sean Jackson will second that. And all those in favour? Beauty, carried. Great. Thank you, everyone. So the next item on the agenda is the number of ordinary committee members. We need to decide the number in 2021, and our committee already had a discussion about this, and we feel that we would like to recommend to the membership that just 4 ordinary members be adopted in addition to the 4 executive. And so that would be the motion. Would anyone like to counter this or offer an alternative? No, if there's no alternative, then I'd like to move that we adopt 4 committee members in addition to our 4 executives for financial year 2021. Would anyone like to second that? Can I have a second? Thanks, Katrina, you're in. And if we could all show hands to vote. Yep, carried. Thank you very much. The next item, and we're moving through this nice and quickly, is the confirmation of the annual subscription and joining fee for financial year 2022. So that's the next financial year. Again, for this one, I'd like to send it over to Sean just to have a little discussion and recommendation about this.
So our pre-existing prices prior to waiving them were an annual subscription fee of $120 plus GST, so $132 if you don't happen to be registered, and a joining fee of $20 plus GST as well. We obviously waive those for the financial year that we're in, but as of July 2021, for the 2022 financial year, we plan on the recommendation from the committee that we discussed was to revert it back to our pre-existing prices. So no price increase for the 2022 financial year. So that's what we're moving. Happy to engage in discussion. Happy to hear any alternate views. But that's what we're proposing tonight as being the pricing for the 2022 financial year.
Terrific. So Sean's going to move that, and if we could have someone from the floor a second. Yeah, and Kerry's going to second that. And all those in favour? Yep, and we've carried. So the next item, and we're getting really close to the end of the agenda here, and that is the recommendation for audited accounts, financial year 2022. Again, I'd like Sean to have a little discussion about this one.
So by law, if your entity, or if as an incorporated association, if your turnover exceeds $500,000, your accounts are required to be audited. If they exceed $250,000 but are less than $500,000, they require review by a member of an accounting body such as CPA Australia or Chartered Accountants or Institute of Public Accountants. Below that, the only requirement is to lodge the accounts with Consumer Affairs with having 2 members of the executive committee sign off on it, which is exactly what we did when we went through the Treasurer's report. Our turnover in this year was $18,000, so we're clearly well short of the $250,000 requirement. But it is certainly available to members to vote and decide whether or not we wish to voluntarily have a review or voluntarily have an audit. The recommendation from the committee, and I'll sort of back away from this given they're my numbers that might be reviewed or might be audited, but the recommendation for the committee was that we didn't need to go down that path, largely as a result of the cost that would be involved with a review and an audit, but coupled with the fact that on $18,000 of turnover, it's probably not that important or not that necessary to do so. But certainly we're happy to if required. In the past, David Datto has been fantastic in his support in, I can't use the word reviewing the numbers, in probing the numbers, in providing assurance to members that the numbers are correct and I haven't made too many errors, certainly none in a financial sense. So that's what we've had the luxury of in the past. And certainly Nellie asked quite a few probing questions and Kerry had a good review as well before they signed off on the numbers as well. So I'll hand over back to Nellie around the decision, given I sort of back away from trying to influence the decision as to whether or not to have a review or an audit.
Mm-hmm. So before we move, so I'll be proposing that we move to go without an audit in the next financial year. But before we do so, does anyone on the floor want to have a word to that?
Yes, I'll make a comment as a previous treasurer, but an unskilled one. I found David Datto fantastic to have as a backup, to go through the figures with me in his amazing kitchen table with all the butcher's paper spread over it and everything listed. It was a great relief to have him sign off and pick up errors and point things out to me. I can see where you're going, and that's fine. And if you've got a guy like Sean running it, then I don't think we need anything. But in the future, it just worries me slightly if Sean moves on and someone takes over as I did without a background in that field. Having someone just to go through the figures with was very valuable to me. And when I made my report at the AGMs, I felt more confident with David sitting there smiling in the background, knowing that he'd checked all my figures and picked up mistakes. Yeah. So it's just, and if David's not doing it, that's fine. Then if we have to pay someone, I think you have to weigh up at the quality of the treasurer, the experience of the treasurer of the day, whether you need a backup. But I certainly found it very valuable. And in front of everyone, David, I thank you very much for your assistance when I was treasurer.
Yeah, thanks, David.
It might, given I might be previewing things a little bit, but I have nominated for treasurer again for the 2021 financial year. So if that helps,
oh, that's good.
Yeah, with anyone's decision, then you can have that preview.
David, would you like to say a few words?
Yeah, just if we could. Firstly, thanks very much for all that acknowledgement of the past. And Roger, it was a pleasure working with you as it was with Sean. But I think we should realise that this is an annual review of whether you want an audit or a review. So, Roger, it's not cast in cement that if the Treasurer does move on, we'll always have the opportunity to call up that review procedure and or audit if we need. For mine, as a member of the association, I think we just count our lucky stars. We've got a person of A, of the integrity, and B, of the professional skill, as we have in Sean, to bring this all about. And I'm sure the 2 signing committee persons are just happy to bask in that understanding. And I'm sure that critique still goes on with people, because the committee people are virtually signing their lives away. They've certified to the accounts that in their view, it's a true and fair view of the accounts. And they're putting their signature to it. So it's up to them to play the figures as closely as they want. But for mine, with Sean there and the numbers being what they are, I think we carry on with the motion that you put forward. But we do need to be clear as to whether it's an audit or a review. There's no need to sort of talk audit when we're in this particular sphere of tier that Sean has nominated with tier 1 company. We don't need to have it. And every tier of the company, whether it's 1, 2 or 3, still needs those 2 committee personnel to sign off, even if the audit, a professional audit is done as well.
Okay.
So that's the situation as I see it. Well done on the accounts for this year, by the way. They're looking great, and good luck for 2021.
Okay, well, thank you for that discussion and that consideration. And yes, we all of the current committee has already extended our great thanks to David for his advice and help in the past, and we've offered him a letter of thanks on behalf of the entire association, and yeah, we really appreciate that work. And we have asked that David hang around just in case, just in case we need him again, and he has agreed to be that legal advice, give us that legal advice, give us that accounting advice, and that second year to sort of bounce ideas off. So it's really gratifying to know that you're in the background there, David, and part of the membership, and really appreciate it.
Thanks, Nellie. And I must say I was delighted to receive that communication from you and the committee. Totally unnecessary, of course, but thank you for it anyway. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. And of course, Kerry Watson was the mastermind behind a lot of
Thanks,
that.
Kerry.
Yeah. So without further ado, then I would like to move to not undertake an audit of our accounts in the following financial year. And I would like to move that if anyone would like to second. Kerry, okay, take your pick, Annika. I think we'll take Steve Granger for this one, second it. And I think we've got it carried because there was quite a few hands as well. So thank you for that. The next and second last agenda item is the election of office bearers. So we did ask for nominations to be received from the membership, and we asked that those be sent forward to us at least 7 days prior to this meeting. I'm pleased to say that we have received 7 nominations for committee, and that all the executive positions were nominated unopposed for the 2021 association year. So in the position of president, we had 1 nomination, Nellie Shaw, yours truly. So congratulations to me. The position is now filled. In the position of vice president, we had 1 nomination. That's Kerry Watson. Congratulations, Kerry. That position is now filled. In the position of secretary, we had 1 nomination, and that's Katrina Barry-Nuvo. Congratulations, Katrina, and thank you for agreeing to take on this role in 2021. That position is now filled. And in the position of treasurer, we had 1 nomination, and that's Sean Rubenstein. Congratulations, Sean, for agreeing for another year as treasurer of the Hinterland Tourism Association. It's much appreciated, and that position is filled. In the ordinary positions, we have 3 nominations, and that's Sophie Nettleford, Amanda Cristani, and, oh God, hold on a second. Who have I missed, guys? I've got one more. My brain's not working. Help me out here. Who have I missed? Annika.
And me, Rudolin.
Annika. So that 3 positions for committee have been filled, and we still have 1 vacant position. So that wraps up our election process. And as I said in the previous report, anyone that would like to join us is more than welcome. Just hit us up via email and we'll invite you to the next committee meeting and get the ball rolling. So we will move on now to the last order of business, which is other business. And I would like to share with you some very happy news. And that is that one of our committee members, our 2020 secretary, Annika Bredelin.
The one you forgot.
The one I forgot, is actually expecting. So she's done a fantastic job this year and we thank her for her contribution and we wish her every blessing in the future. And she's graciously agreed to stay on the committee until such time as she can no longer perform her duties. She'll be performing other maternal duties. And then, you know, we may have another vacancy on the committee after that. But she's done a great job this year. And, yes, she's stepping aside as secretary and Katrina will be filling that role.
Thank you, Nellie.
So would anyone else have any other business they would like to discuss before we close the meeting?
Nellie, is it worth mentioning what grant you've applied for and where it's at, the most current one?
We could. It may lead to a long discussion and we haven't got the confirmation yet. I was going to save that as a surprise for another occasion. But now that Kerry's let the cat out of the bag, we have applied for a $30,000 grant to reinvigorate the scarecrow competition and trail. And this grant was an opportunity that came out of the state government, and it's to do with social isolation during COVID-19. And it was thought that the scarecrow competition was a great way to get people making scarecrows and putting them out in, you know, after COVID, hopefully when the restrictions come down. But it's an opportunity for people to get active with art and craft and really start to consider why they think that the peninsula is such a great place to live. So it was really about generating that community spirit. And we put together a pretty compelling submission. It's such a lot of money because we are going to engage an event contractor. There will be no liability for the Hinterland Association. We won't go ahead with this unless we get the money. And we will be having that event contracted that will be managing. We've essentially got a turnkey event. We know exactly how to run it. We've got all the background paperwork. We've got all the contractors ready to go. And it just seems like a really good fit for this grant. So that is underway. We have discussed it with the Shire. They're 100% behind it. In fact, they wanted to make it Shire-wide. And it also generated from a previous kind of enthusiasm that was coming from our membership. Michael Leeworthy was hitting up lots of different agencies, including the Red Hill Lions, to reinvigorate the Scarecrow Festival. Kerry attended a meeting about 3 months ago with the traders over in Western Port, and they wanted to reinvigorate the Scarecrow Festival. So we are seeing a lot of enthusiasm, not just from the community, but from tourism businesses. And so we felt that it was justified in taking this on again. So we'll see how we go. If we do, it'll be brought forward. It won't be September 2021. It'll be either Easter 2021 or it could even be January 2021. The whole idea of this grant was to get this, you know, get people moving quickly and getting them activated early. So that is something that is underway at the moment.
And Nellie, have you seen the spoonbill just around the corner from your house?
Yes, that sounds a lot like Scarecrow too, doesn't it? But with the wooden spoons.
If spoonbill, and if you're not familiar with what I'm talking about, because I didn't know what it was until 2 weeks ago, they're everywhere. All these spoon villages are popping up all over the place. So if spoons can take off, if wooden spoons in the ground can take off, so can your scarecrows.
Yeah, and it was also similar to the bin isolation movement that had that huge Facebook engagement when everyone was locked up as well, and people pushing their bins out in all sorts of costumes and taking photographs of themselves. Yeah, so it just has great potential. We can sort of certainly, you know, part of the new program will be to have an online element. And, you know, it'll be very photogenic and, you know, hopefully spread the news far and wide that the hinterland community is a fantastic rural tourism community that's, you know, bordered by coast on all sides, and, you know, what a great place to live and visit. So lots of different aspects to it that really could work. Oh, and might I add that I did put this all to the committee a couple of times, and they all were very enthusiastic about being involved. So I had their approval first. Was there anything else anyone wanted to chat about officially before we get underway of a little catch up with everyone?
Sean had a suggestion in the chat that you might want to look at, and he was suggesting that we have a restart party, or consider a restart party to relaunch the enthusiasm amongst our members if the COVID restrictions get dropped.
If, yeah, I think really difficult to. We could certainly, yes, let's have that as an idea. But in terms of when we'll all be able to gather, you know, 17 people on this Zoom chat, that 17 people together in a room, that I'm not sure when that's going to be legally allowed. So yeah, without that date, we can't really plan anything.
Probably plan for a Christmas party, because that's probably the earliest.
Yeah, let's hope. I think we're all allowed to go down the beach with a glass of wine and sit on a bathing box each.
I think.
You might be able to have the party at Amanda. She's got plenty of acres there.
Yes, we'll have it at Luca.
On by me.
We've been looking at a COVID plan for starting Pick Your Own, and towards the end of November, it should be 50 people allowed in an area.
Yep.
So that's something, according to their regulations, they're planning on about 50 people can get together.
Okay. Well, that's sounding promising, isn't it? So yes, we might be able to do a Christmas party. Certainly, as soon as we do get, you know, the option to, once we get some confirmation around those dates, we will certainly start planning the next party, Hinterland Party. We missed one that we were going, as Sean mentioned earlier, we were going to have a really fantastic get together at Montalto in mid-year, and it just, you know, didn't happen. So we would definitely like to reschedule something in that, something really, you know, rewarding for members. And as we've got this very healthy budget, we would probably have to relook at that, because that was prior to when we decided to reduce member fees to zero. So now we don't have that income. Moving forward, we'll be just a little bit more careful about our expenditure. But, you know, we should have something in the kitty to host an event.
Can I go back to the treasurer's thing?
Mm-hmm.
Just a point that the CFA do for all the volunteer brigades. They have a member of the CFA come down and do a spot audit on any particular thing he picks out in the minutes, and then follows that right through from conception to planning and how it all comes out. So they just follow 2 or 3 things right through the whole process. Instead of going through and doing a complete audit, they just do a spot check, and you don't know where they're going to check, and those ones they pick out have to go through the whole process of being right for a general meeting.
That's very interesting. It's probably something we can have a look at in terms of our governance.
You haven't got the cost of doing a full audit, but you do have a spot check on several things that are picked out. So if those ones aren't right, who knows where they're going to pick?
I can tell you, I get audited every 13 weeks, and they're terrifying. They're terrifying. by Consumer Affairs, and they come off track a bit, but yeah, they come down and check random things. If they find one thing wrong, they go through the whole shooting match. They're terrifying.
Dear, oh dear. Well, I think, your turnover is probably a million times more than ours, Steve, but that's, so they're good to note. So thank you, Trevor, for that suggestion. We will certainly have a look at that. Okay, well, I think I'm going to close the meeting if no one's got anything else.
One more.
Pardon?
One more. It's about a week old, but happy birthday, Leith.
Oh. Happy birthday, Leith. You might have to speak first when we reopen the meeting after formalities. We'll put you on the top of the list. Tell us about your COVID birthday.
I missed the start. Sorry about that.
That's fine. We've still got you on our attendance list. So okay. So yeah, Annika, we're going to close the meeting at 6:53, and we're going to move to the social side of things.